Netflix's Archive 81 isn't your average late-night jump scare horror. Instead, it takes an unconventional approach to both horror and found footage content, with more subtle attempts that surprisingly unsettle the viewer even more than they'd expect. And already, fans have some of their most liked, not-so-likable scenes from the first season. Join us as we go over Archive 81's creepiest, most ominous moments in this video. Not for the faint of heart. So at number 9 we have The Circle. Right from the get-go, Archive 81 had it coming for us in terms of eeriness. Take first episode's The Circle, for example, which is a fictional movie everyone on the show thought had been lost, but Dan manages to get his hands on it. The film that's viewed by the characters in full length progresses in creepiness as the episode goes on, and finally concludes on a man cutting open a woman's throat. The discordant soundtrack and unusual visuals that accompanied the film-watching experience put all the viewers on edge throughout the episode. According to reports, the snuff film was inspired by an actual film that the director Crest saw at a party. That film also involved a human sacrifice to call forth a demon, and knowing this, we know what inspired all those questionable scenes from The Circle. Next, at number 8, that terrifying song. Characters Dan and Melody are often left disturbed by this one creepy song that repeatedly comes on. It consists of haunting piano notes that travel through the vents of the viscer to scare the life out of the characters, as well as those watching. But the most unsettling version of the song is sung by Kaligo's worshippers, with gasps, buzzes, deep humming, and grunts, all coming together in an unnerving ballad. But there's more to this song than simply adding that extra creepiness to the series. In fact, it's a prayer that supposedly thins the veil for Kaligo's arrival. In addition, the song makes the Baodung sick, and therefore helps Samuel spot the potential participants in the scary ritual. So we don't blame you if you screamed at your screen each time Melody came disturbingly near to a group of people chanting this song, telling her to run for her life. Now, at number 7, The Sacrifice itself. The ending to episode 1's snuff film is one of Archive 81's creepiest moments in its own right, and to think there's an actual film that it's based on. Even when it was fairly predictable, the fans were still taken aback when the big moment came. Rose offering her everything to a higher power. It was this obedient nature of hers that was the most disturbing. She just stood there as a blade ran against her throat. But for those of you who might know, Rose was actually a victim of grooming before she became a human sacrifice victim. The cult leaders did their all to ensure she was brainwashed into submission, so last-minute hesitation could be crossed out. But at least not everyone went through with the whole thing, because as you might remember, there was a second similar ritual that followed shortly afterward, except Jess realizes there's no higher being welcoming her soul into a better place and manages to escape. Tamara had a similar fate and was brainwashed beyond any salvation at the hands of Samuel and his partners. The reason why these scenes were so harrowing is because they portray the true picture of cults. Perhaps viewers realized how, despite its fictional nature, Archive 81 isn't all that separate from reality for a lot of people who get pulled into obvious nonsense to the point where they're willing to give it their all, even their own life. Next, at number 8, Mold all over. Mold is a central substance throughout Archive 81. From apartment buildings to bathrooms to even objects like paint and videotape, the grimy-looking stuff hugs everything that it's able to. There's actually a reason for that. It's one of Kaligo's called staples, and there are certain patterns it represents. For instance, circular mold means Kaligo and his followers are successfully connecting with the demon. If you were to think of a non-supernatural explanation for the way things turn out in the series, it would be this unchecked exposure to mold. Being around that much mold isn't healthy, but Dan and Melody do it anyway. The cult also seems to be on board with this theory. Nothing good can come out of a place riddled with mold, and Samuel uses this disgusting substance as one of his group's defining features. Sitting at number 5, The Demon. Decades and decades of on-screen demons have certainly raised the fans' standards when it comes to shock value. Luckily, the Archive 81 team understood its challenge well and delivered one of the scariest looking demons in the shape of Kaligo. From looks alone, Kaligo is best described with the word sinister. Kaligo exists in a dimension alien to humans and is constantly on the lookout for spaces to transport himself into the human world. He's said to have the ability to end time, which is viewed as something favorable by his followers. And even though he wasn't shown in entirety, just ominous glimpses of him, that was enough to get a few gasps out of all of us. Next is number 4, Jess's seizures. You might think that Jess wasn't serious about the events of the show. It certainly did seem like that when she didn't make much of Melody's instructions, and overall had an uninterested vibe about her. All those assumptions came crashing down when Jess experienced those seizures when Melody tried to interview her for the dissertation. There's no doubt that seizures can look pretty disturbing because of the visible distress on both the person who gets them and the one who tries to help out, but Jess's seizures seemed all the more impactful, especially when you think of the reason behind them. It was definitely the cult's doing, heartbreaking that poor Jess had to go through all that. She was about to be sacrificed to bring a sinister demon closer to entering the Earth's realms. So of course she was experiencing some physical symptoms as well. But all sympathies aside, those seizures are right up there among the show's most unnerving moments. Watching Jess fall from her seat with seemingly no control over herself had many shrinking down in their seats. Now at number 3, mold addiction. The mold in the viscera is ignored, so much so that even those who purposely try to ingest it are also completely overlooked. It's not clear if Samuel is refining the stuff or offering it completely unadulterated, but he's got a bunch of people hooked on it. This group of mold addicts resides on the 6th floor of the apartment building and has a dependency on the nasty-looking substance. This serves a purpose. The people get endless supplies of mold all within their own floor and never even think about leaving, giving prayers to Caligo day and night. The demeanor of these mold addicts is also unsettling. They exhibit classic signs of substance dependence, and you see it in their body language as well as behavior. Now, at number 2, Samuel's Special Tea. Samuel's evilness knows no end. Besides his band of mold addicts who get hooked on the stuff willingly, Samuel makes sure even those who are not interested in the stuff also get a taste of it at least once. Melody first realizes the addictive properties of the substance when she witnesses Annabelle getting violent, trying to protect her mold paintings from a buyer. And as the mystery surrounding Caligo unfolds, she decides to confront Cassandra in hopes of getting her hands on a sample of the mold. And during her visit, she unexpectedly finds Jess sitting in Cassandra's room sipping on tea. Knocking the cup out of her hand, Melody has her first serious encounter with the grimy leaves. She realizes that Cassandra is deliberately giving Jess mold upon Samuel's orders to prepare her for the sacrifice. Jess finds out too, and the disgust on her face is hard to deny. Now, sitting at number 1, the medium's face. To meet more Visser residents, Melody decides to attend a dinner party. Following the interaction she has with the people of the building, Cassandra also reveals to her the truth about Beatrice. Apparently, the middle-aged lady acts as a medium for Samuel's dirty work. Beatrice's gift is used to attain information regarding the snuff film. At first, Melody doesn't buy it, but soon needs Beatrice's help to bridge the gap between herself and Dan. And during this comes one of the most horrifying moments from the show, Beatrice's vision that disturbs her so much she gouges out her own eyes. There was blood everywhere, and Beatrice's hands gripped her own eyeballs. Oh, it makes one want to puke even talking about it. That was the scene where Archive crossed its personal goal of keeping the show subtle and mysterious, and took it from 0 to 100 in a matter of seconds. For those who watched the entire series in one go, might have been the most surprised at how out of the blue the whole thing was. The scene is undoubtedly the most disturbing in the whole series, and might possibly have induced some nightmares in its viewers. That was it for today's video. What do you like about Netflix's Archive 81 the best? Is it the mysterious aura or the frightening visuals? Let us know in the comments below. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel, where we post similar videos quite frequently. We'll see you in the next one.